Alabama at LSU at night in Death Valley, 7:30 Eastern. LSU is 3-point underdogs right now at home. This is the 9th consecutive meeting between Alabama and LSU in LSU, where Alabama has been the favorite. LSU hasn't been favored at home against Bama since 2006. But Alabama,
before Nick Saban.
yes, Alabama hasn't exactly been a road juggernaut. It's lost 2 straight and 2 against the spread away from home, obviously against Vandy and Tennessee. The Tide haven't lost 3 straight road games straight up since 2006, that same year. You got to go back to year 2000 for their last 3 games straight up and against the spread road losing streak. So since 2020, LSU 6-3 straight up, 6-2-1 against the spread as home dogs. That's tied for the second most straight up wins as a home dog. And at Notre Dame and LSU, Brian Kelly is 14-6 straight up when playing at home off a straight up loss. At home, Brian Kelly is also 16-2 straight up on extended rest in his coaching career. I think you would agree with me. Garrett Nussmeier has the potential to have a field day against this inexperienced Alabama secondary. I mean, we're not exactly talking about murderer's row as far as passing attacks that Alabama's faced this year. I mean, gosh, is the best that they faced this year Carson Beck?
Yeah, it's Carson Beck in Georgia.
He's not exactly lighting the world on fire, right? I mean, they faced backup quarterback at Wisconsin, Byron Brown at USF. He was supposed to be really good this year, missing countless wide receivers.
Yeah,
Missouri with the backup quarterback.
LSU and Ole Miss are the 2 best passing attacks in the Southeastern Conference, and that's 2 of the best passing attacks in the country.
Yeah. LSU side of the ball, too, I'm not sure they can run the ball at all. I mean, they're below ranked 100 in running the ball. I don't know how they can have such a great passing attack and then be so weak at running the ball.
They're the one team that's ranked behind Georgia in running the football. Like I said, Georgia, I think, was 15th in the SEC in rushing, and LSU 16th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LSU defensive side of the ball, obviously, you were high on Blake Baker in the offseason big time, and you could just tell by watching the play on the field that he's definitely improved the defense. They get 2 weeks to prepare for, probably a healthier Jalen Milroe running the ball. Obviously, they're not going to be caught off guard like they were, against A&M and Marcel Reed. Kind of the same thing where I said, South Carolina had 2 weeks to prepare, basically a whole week to prepare for Marcel Reed, and they probably used that to their full advantage. But I don't think LSU is going to be caught off guard this week. Obviously, they faced Milroe last year, and he tore him up last year, but that was a different defense, we'll be honest.
And I think Alabama's going to not necessarily run they're going to try. I would imagine they'll try to run the read option. They should after what they watched Texas A&M do. But Milroe in the run game is a little different than the way that Alabama has used him in the run game last year and this year. It's different than the read option. They do that a little bit, but it's more in the QB power run game, speed option type stuff out of shotgun, QB sweeps, and obviously when the play breaks down in the passing game, him taking off running. It's a little different than how Texas A&M did it against LSU.
Yeah, I think the big question mark will be the Alabama running game, to which you famously said a couple weeks ago that Alabama found themselves against Missouri.
Well, I think that what you saw in that second half, that's what Alabama wants to be. It is. That's what this team wants to be. I don't know if that's what
might be what Alabama wants to be. Is it what Nick Sheridan wants to be?
Exactly. And I'm wondering again, in that second half, did it convince them like, okay, yeah, I've got this massive offensive line, I've got these 2 legit tailbacks, and I've got a great athlete at quarterback. We should be running the football more. Again, they don't have to go all of a sudden turn into a 75% run, 25% pass. Like truly every offensive coach would love to be as balanced as possible. And that's what they should be. They should be balanced. It should be closer to 50-50. And if they run the football well, and they have success running the ball in this game, in any other game, but especially in this game, that's going to open up what Alabama has been better than any team in the country the last 2 years up until the last couple of weeks, which is the explosive passing. Really the last 4 or 5 years, pretty much since Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Tua, even those days. Like even Milroe kept it going last year.
Yeah.
The shot plays have been a huge part of Alabama's offense for a long time.
And LSU's secondary is extremely vulnerable to that.
Correct. Like, Alabama's secondary is better than LSU's secondary, but neither one of these secondaries are great by any means at all. And both of these secondaries can be had. I do think Bama's secondary has improved a little bit throughout the year, but they also, again, you alluded to it. That's great that they're improved against Drew Pine, or Tennessee hasn't thrown the ball against anybody all year. South Carolina hasn't thrown the ball really well this year. This is a different animal with these receivers for LSU in this passing game with Nussmeier. If Alabama's going to stop LSU's passing game, we saw Texas A&M in that second half. That defensive line started getting pressure on Nussmeier. What is Nussmeier? He is a pocket passer, just like we talked about with Beck on the last segment here with the Ole Miss deal. If you can get pressure in Nussmeier's face, he's going to put the ball in harm's way, and your defense will have an opportunity to get your hands on the ball and get some picks. You have Pickett. He's going to throw you 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He's done it. He did it against South Carolina. He did it last week at Texas A&M. South Carolina, Texas A&M, what do those two teams have in common? Great pass rushers and a great defensive line that gets after the quarterback.
I think he did it at home a couple times against Ole Miss.
Yeah, again, Ole Miss. Yeah. There's another one. Yeah. Ole Miss, one of the best teams in the country, tackles for a loss and sacks.
And they got one of the best pass blocking offensive lines in the country, but Garrett Dellinger is not going to be playing in this game at guard. Right. So they're going to have a replacement there. So you got to get pressure up the middle on him.
And they can. Alabama's shown this year. That's honestly where they've gotten more pressure this year has been more in the middle of the like LT Overton's been the defensive tackle, defensive end for Alabama, has been the one doing that more.
Yeah.
Their left tackle, Will Campbell, PFF talks about it all the time and stuff. He's hardly given up any QB pressures and sacks all year. Dylan Stewart's really the only one from South Carolina that was able to do that. But on the other side, they have on the right tackle, on the right side of the line, they've given up a little bit. But that's the key, man. They've got to get pressure on Nussmeier. I have no idea if they can or not. Alabama has to run the football and be balanced on offense. And for Alabama to win this game, they have got to limit the mistakes. That includes penalties. That includes turnovers, dumb mental mistakes that they continuously have been making on the road dating back to the Nick Saban era since 2020, man. They were 2021 until now. Going into the Missouri game, Alabama was 111th in the country in penalties. Combined 2021, 2022, 2023, and all the games so far played in 2024. If that stays and happens Saturday night in Baton Rouge, they're going to lose. Mm-hmm. If they got double-digit penalties for 100-plus yards, yeah. You can't go into Baton Rouge, into Knoxville, in these big-time environments against these really good football teams and expect to win games when you've got over 100-plus yards in penalties.
Yeah.
So, what do you got in this one, man?
What do you think? Kalen DeBoer versus Brian Kelly. I mean, it's no secret. I'm not a Brian Kelly fan. Do not like Brian Kelly. Love Kalen DeBoer. But they're both great football coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I think we read it, was it either last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about Brian Kelly. I don't think he's lost a home night game since he's been at LSU.
Nope.
I'm not sure. He said he's only lost that one home game to Tennessee when they played at 11 a.m. local time.
Yep. So, and to be fair, I mean, they haven't played Georgia at home. Ole Miss this year was their best opportunity for that to happen, and they ended up pulling it out in overtime.
Yeah.
And obviously Alabama a couple years ago, that game also went overtime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Kalen DeBoer, he's another one, man, with more time to prepare. He's been really good. He hadn't lost that many games, period, in his 4 years as a head coach. But just like we said going into Tennessee, just like we said going into this one, he hasn't had a lot of big-time road environments like Baton Rouge at night and Knoxville at Neyland Stadium, and it showed that last time at Neyland Stadium. Did they learn anything from that?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to find out.
So, picks of the game. I'm going to call out the 2024 Alabama Crimson Tide here. Okay? And I hope they prove me wrong. I don't think that this team has the makeup, the mental fortitude, the guts, whatever you want to call it, to go into Death Valley at night and come away with a W. Okay? That's just kind of from what I've seen this year. I don't think they could do it. Since I would rather not see Brian Kelly with a victory and LSU win, I'm going to be rooting for you here, but I'm going to take LSU +3. And I hope this turns out for you just like it did me when you took A&M -3 in week 1.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, Alabama 2-point win here. Let's go.
Yeah, like a 31, like a 30-28 type win.
Give me a 32-31 revenge game in overtime, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be
honest. Is this one of your call outs where you get a 5-star on the Tide, or you're going for them, or what?
No, man. I haven't seen anything from this team that tells me that at all. I would love to.
What do you think about what I mean? Kind of what I said, which is the makeup, the mental fortitude, all that stuff.
Yeah, you're
right.
You
were talking about it with the penalties.
Absolutely. There has been nothing that this team has shown in the bigger road games over the last few years that would make you think that they're all of a sudden going to go into Baton Rouge at night and just give us a vintage Nick Saban type Alabama performance.
I keep going back to it though with DeBoer 2 years ago. Went into Oregon, right, with Washington.
Yep.
He's faced some tough environments, but yeah, they've got to prove it.
Agreed. I'm not going to chicken out here. I'm going to give a bet on this game. Not a bet, sorry. I'm going to give a pick on this game. I'm going to shock everybody here, and I'm going to take Alabama 31, LSU 28.
All right, I'll take the push. There.